Good evening, everybody. I am a little early this week. Obviously, I don't normally do lives on a Monday, but I'm disappearing off on a 3-day little holiday. So I've asked Dr. Emma Wedgeworth, consultant dermatologist, to join me live at 6 o'clock, and we'll be going through her 10 best, 15 best beauty buys. I love speaking to dermatologists. There's nothing better, there really isn't, because they really know their stuff. So let me just invite her. No, she's not there. Right, let's invite her to join. If I put in Dr. Emma straight away, she will come up, I'm sure. There she is. I've requested her to join, and I'm sure she's ready and waiting. Hello!
Hi, how are you?
Super efficient and super quick.
So efficient. I'm a doctor, I'm ready and waiting.
Thank you so much for doing this on a Monday night.
Such a pleasure. Well, I mean, have I got anything better to do on a Monday night than see you? And you look so gorgeous today. How are you?
I have a sneaking suspicion you've got a lot of better offers than this, so we really appreciate it. Thank you. I was just saying to everybody at the top and in the stories to promote this, that you and I have known each other a couple of years now, because we've done events together, we've done talks together, and I really love your take on, firstly, being a consultant dermatologist, but I do love the fact that you do champion high street skincare, and I just feel like we're aligned souls.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, I really do. And actually, as I look at my little collection here, there's quite a lot of high street. But and this is stuff that is from my bathroom, and I absolutely love that, because you know what I am really keen on is sort of democratizing the whole process. We don't want this to be the preserve of someone that can afford to spend, you know, £200 on a cream. We don't want that, right?
And also, I think you and I met last week, and I asked you to do this because we were chatting about niacinamide and SPFs and all that sort of stuff. But the longer I do this, and I've been doing this for 32 years as a journalist, but the longer I've been doing this, and I have to say, I can only say this with impunity in the last 4, 5, 6 years, I actually don't think I could ever bring myself, and I do not think there is a cream that on the market that's worth it.
No.
I'm gonna, you know what,
Oh, I've lost just.
My top is always CE Ferulic, and that's £139.
Right.
And I would buy that if I lost my job tomorrow. But genuinely, I can't bring myself ever to recommend products that cost that much more money. I just can't.
Nor can I. Nor can I. And I don't, I mean, even, you know, like you said, even with my job, yes, I do. I have a bottle of C Ferulic on my desk here. But actually, I wouldn't, if I didn't get it, I wouldn't necessarily, I think there are lots of other amazing products around there. And, you know, I mean, I just think I don't spend all that much money on my products. I just don't. And even the really expensive ones that sometimes get sent to me, you know, I don't necessarily use them.
And totally separately, and we shall go over this once soon over cocktails, I'm sure. Just recently, I've had a couple of guests on who've really bought into expensive skincare, and there's just the look on my face. I'm just going, really? Yeah. I can't bring myself to do it. Bearing in mind, I get given this stuff for free. Even when I test it, I'm like, it's really no better than the stuff that's available on the high street. But anyway, over to you. Please list them. And obviously, you know, I'm not going to keep you to 10 if you've got 15. Don't worry.
I don't have 15 because I'm such a good girl. I want to do as I'm told. And I was like, oh my God, but maybe I have a couple more. But the one thing I would like to say about expensive skincare is there is genuinely, if you have unlimited budget, knock yourself out. There are some products out there which are sort of, you know, okay. But most of us, I mean, how many people have unlimited budget, right? And actually, we all have to be careful. And I mean, things are so expensive. I just hate it if people are spending all that money on skincare when they could get something cheaper, when they could actually like put that money into a pension, or, you know, I don't know, go and treat themselves. And that's the thing. I have nothing against expensive skincare. It's just that it's just totally out of most people's reach, and you don't need it necessarily. So,
and if people want really good results, again, you see, I would quite happily pay a lot of money for a good IPL, a little bit of Botox. I've got no problem with any of that. If you want to invest in yourself, go for it.
Right.
Like £250 on a moisturizer and I'm out.
No, exactly. Invest that money and have a little bit of procedures, because skincare can take you so far and then the above. So I was thinking, I thought dermatologists must be about your most boring type of, really? Because
No.
I was thinking, like, please don't say the same thing. I had a quick look at your last lovely dermatologist, brown skin derm. I was like, I don't want to say exactly the same thing because we can be a bit boring. And some of my colleagues don't even believe in skincare at all. And I'm like, what?
I did once do a live many, many years ago, and she shall remain nameless. And all she wanted to talk about was prescription skincare and aqueous cream.
Oh, that must have been a
I'll DM you later.
I mean, because no one uses aqueous cream anymore. I think that you are definitely missing a trick if you're not sorting out your skincare. However, saying that, there is a limit to where skincare can go. And I think sometimes products don't tell you about when to give up on over-the-counter products and get you to a doctor. So I think it's that fine balance. But actually, like, not everyone needs to see a dermatologist. There's so much great stuff you can actually do at home.
Tell everybody the statistic, the percentage you told me the other day.
Right?
Brace yourself, people. Brace yourself.
0.3% of the UK get to see a dermatologist. There are about 650 dermatologists in the UK and, 60 million people or whatever it is. It's a tiny, tiny proportion. And I mean, that's obviously dermatology provision in the UK is not okay. And post-pandemic, it's an absolute nightmare for people. But not everybody needs to use prescription grade, and there's so many amazing products, and it's a bit of a spectrum, isn't it? Stuff you can get over the counter sort of morphs gradually into the stuff you can get on prescription. So I don't want people to think that actually if they can't get to see a dermatologist, all is lost. But they may get to a point, if you've got rip-roaring acne or rosacea, your skin, Spray SPF50 is not the place for you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it drives me mad when I hear people being upsold products, and I just want to say to them, oh, go and see your GP. Please go and see your GP. Ask for a referral. Yeah. And I absolutely would say it's chronic acne, rosacea, eczema, psoriasis, dermatitis. I mean, all of those things. My rule is always, give something 6 weeks, you should start to see an improvement. Give something 3 months. And if it hasn't helped dramatically in 3 months, please go and seek the help of a doctor.
Right. Absolutely. And the other thing that I think is that, if you've got a really bad condition and you've used a couple of moisturizers, sometimes it's like eczema. Sometimes people keep going to I love GPs, but they keep changing their moisturizer. I'm like, whoa, that moisturizer is not going to fix this. We need, medical treatment. It's the same thing. You can use as many over-the-counter things as you like sometimes, but keeping on changing that routine, spending more money on it. So I think skincare, I am a super fan. But it's about, we should be getting onto it. I think it definitely does stuff, and then there's a limit to where it can stop. So it's always about knowing your boundaries, which I think
Have you ever suffered from your skin yourself? Or I've only ever known you have really clear, beautiful skin.
Okay, so several things. One is that, yes, I used to be quite spotty around the periods, how many other adult women, and I was a dreadful picker, dreadful. So then, you'd be picking away. That's all settled down with nice dermatology thing. But what I think is really nice about me is that genetically, genetically, I have terrible skin. I have no melanin. I have, I'm constantly covered in freckles and whatever else. And I could have aged incredibly badly because I don't have any natural UV protection. And actually, you do a few things, you embrace your stuff that you can't change. And actually, I'm pretty happy with my skin. So I think that's a really nice lesson because, sometimes people are looking for this totally perfect skin and whatever else, and no one has perfect skin. But actually, you can make the most of your own particular skin type with, combination, nice bit of skincare, little bit of tweaks here, good lifestyle, all of that sort of stuff. So I really like that.
Right, let's dive straight in.
Okay.
And by the way, I should have been polite and said to you, you could have had more than 10. It's really hard to narrow it down to 10.
But you know what? I started off thinking, I'm not going to have 10. I'm so stripped back, I'm not going to have 10. And by this morning, I was just like, oh my God. I don't know what to do.
I could get my skincare down to 10 products, but the minute you add in makeup and hair care,
so
all bets are off.
Picked a few things that I absolutely love that are on my bathroom shelves that I'm using at the moment, and I'm going to kick off. I'm going to go, do you know what I'm going to try and do? I'm going to start with the facial stuff I've got, and I'm going to sort of go chronologically as I would use them in my routine. Okay, so my first one is the Verso Acne Deep Cleanse. Now, this has got a bit of salicylic acid in it, which I think I used to really dislike salicylic acid, and I think the reason why I dislike salicylic acid is because I think it's badly formulated a lot. I think when it's well formulated, it can be a great ingredient. And what I really like about this cleanser is that it's not foaming. So everything else they've really stripped back. They've put a bit of glycerin in it, a bit of niacinamide, and then they've put the salicylic acid. So you can actually, it's a really nice sort of chemical exfoliant one. And for me, that does still get a few sort of blemishes around here when I'm feeling a bit oily, a bit congested. I don't use it all the time, so it can be a bit much with a Tret. But I think it's a really good option. And for teens and things, I think it would be a good option. Have you tried it?
I haven't tried it. I wouldn't use the salicylic acid because I never get breakouts. I'm like postmenopausal. I just need to put all the moisture back in my skin.
Right.
However, I'm a lactic acid person. Would you recommend that you leave that on for more than a cleansing? So would you kind of leave it on for 5 minutes, clean your teeth maybe? How do you use it?
Yeah, so I don't use it for that long. I think it's a really good one for teens as well. I mean, I am secretly really lazy in lots of ways. You know, so sometimes it's just, but I think you can leave it on for a little bit. Just make sure it's sort of penetrating. You can leave it on to 30, 60 seconds. And then rinse it off. And I think for people who are oily, so I tend to change my cleansers a lot, summer to winter. For people who are a bit oily, salicylic is great to actually penetrate down and get rid of a little bit of oil if you're a bit prone to blocked pores. So I think it's pretty good actually. I quite like some of the Verso products. I just think it's a really nicely formulated, it's a good way.
Completely agree. I think Verso is a really interesting brand, and if anybody's not familiar with it, go and check it out. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, I like that. And okay, so next one is a little bit of a theme because it's the other cleansers that I might use. I think, so salicylic acid is too
This is my all-time favourite cleanser you're about to mention.
Right?
Yeah.
Love this. Can you see it, guys? It's the Curel Makeup Cleansing Gel. There are a couple of problems with active cleansers like this one, but I am using it at the moment because I quite like it. But the one problem is that you can't use it around the eyes, so you're going to have to be really careful. Take your eye makeup off with something else. You use the makeup cleansing gel. That's okay.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you were going to tell me off for using Curel around my eyes.
No.
I would never use the salicylic acid.
Right, around your eyes, you have to be a bit careful so your eye makeup's going to come off. Whereas actually something like this, I mean, this is just, Curel is a great brand, right? I know.
It's my absolute, if somebody says to me they have sensitive skin, they've got barrier impaired skin, they've got Tret issues, they've got retinol issues, they're going through the menopause, they're going sensitive, I just go Curel. Right. Just Curel, which is basically Japan's #1 ceramide range. And in America, it's available everywhere and you've got lots of different actives in it. But in the UK, it's a core range that's unfragranced, loaded with ceramides, and it's just brilliant.
Yeah, it's absolutely great. And I think it's good at actually sort of getting makeup off. Because, you know, people always moan about the fact that I don't like your gentle cleansers because they don't get makeup off. And I'm like, ta-da!
Yeah. I basically have this thing where I basically tie my hair back. I put the Curel melting gel, and it's a weird texture if you've never tested it. It's sort of oil gel hybrid weirdness. And you rub it into damp skin. And then I literally I rub it into my face, and then I rub my fingers gently back, and you can feel your mascara break down. And the minute your lashes feel soft, you wipe everything off with a cloth. Gone. And I love a stripper lash mascara and liner. Love it. Yeah. Love that cleanser.
It's a really, really good cleanser. I really like the Curel. So the ceramides, just such a key part of the way that our skin works, such a key part of intercellular lipids. It's the main intercellular lipid in the outside skin barrier. And so much talk about skin barrier. We see so many problems with skin barrier issues. So that's, those are my cleansing.
Quick question there from somebody saying, does it get rid of waterproof SPF?
Yeah, I'm very happy with that. I mean, I don't have a problem. I think sometimes people don't use enough of it. Sometimes people don't do it for long enough. But actually the contact, if you get it in contact enough and you just gently massage it off, then I think that'll be absolutely fine.
Are you a facial cloth flannel person or not? A lot of derms hate them, don't they?
I'm not, but that's because, I mean, the washing machine, you know, I mean, like, there's too much laundry in my house anyway. I can't be bothered to add another of those. And I just, I don't need it. I'm really happy with my hands and, that sort of aspect. So, yeah.
So how do you, okay, so when you wash your face and if you end up with big panda eyes, how do you get rid of the panda eyes? And that's what I need the cloth for, the mascara and the liner.
Yeah, I tend to take off a little bit with the micellar, to be honest, if I'm wearing quite a lot of mascara. I've actually stopped, I mean, often on a day-to-day basis, I can't be bothered to wear mascara, so actually I don't have to take that much off. And by the time I get home, normally everything's, you know, sort of gone, so I don't have panda eyes anymore. But I use a lot of, which I almost brought with me as well, either the Garnier Micellar Water, the pink top, which I love, or the Bioderma Sensibio if I'm feeling flush, Nadine. That's what I'll go for. So one of those two, and I'll just take off a bit of mascara.
I'll put them both in because I do think they're both excellent micellar
They're
waters.
great.
I really do. Yeah.
They're great. And they're easy to get hold of. I mean, I think particularly the Garnier, you know, if I'm in an airport or something like that, sometimes it's like, oh God, I've forgotten everything and what can I buy? But the Garnier is often around. I'm really happy to use it.
Yeah. I have to say, I think Garnier have smashed it out the park recently with a lot of their launches. I just think they've done a really well.
Right. But something shifted, because if you had said to me 10 years ago,
you wouldn't have touched any of it.
Right.
I know. I did a live with Sally Hughes and we were both saying that we thought in terms of changing your image from a sort of slightly young, teeny, sort of weird brand to being a very eco-aware but effective skincare range, Garnier has smashed it out of the park. Their SPFs, now bearing in mind they come from the same company as La Roche-Posay, their SPFs are just brilliant and so reasonably priced. And we all know that the problem with SPFs is you go away with a family of 4, you can bankrupt yourself. Not anymore with Garnier. I mean, just honestly, 5 stars all round for Garnier for what they're doing.
Literally, who turned that around? Because there was a point when it was...
So the general manager was a woman about 3 years ago, and just before lockdown, she went over to L'Oreal Paris. And you watch what L'Oreal Paris are doing now with their skincare as well. She's just smart. She's super smart. I wish I could remember her name, and it's really shocking of me that I don't remember her name because I've met her a couple of times. She just gets what women want. She gets it, and I love that. I love that she's a super powerful woman in the L'Oreal group.
I think I know what you mean, actually. Yeah.
Really smart.
Well, it's smashed it anyway. So that's what I'll definitely do if I get a little bit of extra around there, which is awesome. Okay, so next, I love that people are like, she's going to have loads of SPF. I actually don't have that much SPF because I thought I wanted to like mix it up a bit for people because I knew that they would be like, she's going to just say SPF. Okay, so this is my friend Sam Bunting's the Brightly Serum. And it's a great product, a really good combination product for people that enjoy a combination. It's got azelaic, it's got a sorbitol glucoside, a vitamin C derivative. It's got niacinamide, we were talking about, love niacinamide, and it's got some bakuchiol as well. So it's a real like all-rounder for people that just want, you know, a one-stop shop.
Day or night?
Day. So it contains bakuchiol's fine, obviously for the day, and it doesn't contain a retinol, and it's got that vitamin C, which I tend to use sort of in the morning. And I think for sensitive skins, the sorbitol glucoside and the derivatives are quite good for people who can't do L-ascorbic acid.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. One of my followers the other day was DMing me saying, my skin is getting really sensitive and it's burning and I don't know what it is. And she was using a 20% L-ascorbic. And I went, oh, it'll maybe a 20% L-ascorbic. It's tough. I mean, if it tingles on your face, you know you're in trouble, especially if you're combining it with retinols or retinoids at night as well. Yeah.
It's, I mean, the whole vitamin C derivative thing is an interesting one, isn't it? And it will be sort of, I mean, unfortunately, I don't think they've been around long enough to have as much evidence like ascorbic acid, right? And I mean, you see, I remember seeing some data around C. ferulic from this guy, a professor from Germany who didn't even work for L'Oreal. I was like, oh my God, this is such good data around pigmentation and pollution. And he had actually just been literally saying, we've got it off the shelf and whatever else. And it was really compelling data. And I think the vitamin C derivatives are very interesting because they're just so much easier to formulate. They're more stable. They're easier for people to tolerate. And it will be interesting to see down the line which one is the sort of front runner. Because as I get it, all of them, like ethyl ascorbic acid, they've all got their pros and their cons, but there isn't a sort of front runner amongst them.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And again, back to CE ferulic, for me, it's because, you know, I've used it for a very long time and we were chatting about it the other day. There's a reason that my pigmentation isn't as bad as it should be, as somebody who sunbathed all through their, you know, the 1970s and 1980s before we knew it was so bad for us. I swear it's the long, slow, steady process of L-ascorbic acid. That said, you'll get to the bottom of a bottle, you won't notice that much difference. But I've just been using it ever since it was launched.
No, but I think that that's fine. I think that the way I think about vitamin C, as I'm sure you do, is like it's a bolt onto my SPF. You're not going to notice like that much difference at the time. It might brighten your skin up, bonus, but actually it's the bolt onto your SPF. It's the bit your SPF can't do, right?
Yeah, completely, completely.
So,
Every single day, it's always my first step. So.
this is what I think about skincare. It's like, it's those little small incremental things about, and you know, it's a bit like the daily sunscreen. It's the small incremental stuff that can really make a difference over time. If you really put the work in on a sort of day-to-day basis and a consistent, that it makes a huge difference down the line.
I mean, I'm living proof of that. I remember back in the day when we first were learning about how important SPFs were, there was a gentleman that worked at Pitt's Queen and he'd put an SPF on one hand the other day and not on the other. And he used to use it as a sort of, look, this is the importance. This is the only difference. This is the importance. And I remember at the time thinking, that's very brave of him, stupidly only putting my skincare and my SPF to here. And now I'm the opposite. I've got like a, look after your skin, don't look after your skin, look after your skin, don't, and now I'm having to have laser and a whole host of stuff on this chest that I've just not every day taken care of, even though I was writing the features telling me to take it all the way down. I'm living proof, but the other way around.
But it's sort of hard, isn't it? I mean, it is sort of hard to like, you know, take it down and get it on. That's why products which sink in so nicely. So for example, C Ferulic, such an easy layering process. And actually around necks, chest, you know, it doesn't get on clothes. It's not also clunky. I think it's such an important aspect of it.
The squeak though, the CE Ferulic squeak is very strange. I always have to rinse my hands, the palm of my hands afterwards. Yeah. I don't like the squeak afterwards.
I know.
Do you know what I mean by that?
I know what you mean. I'm just going to show you what I actually have on my desk. So look, yeah, I mean, I love a bit of C Ferulic. It is a great one, but it's a brilliant thing. I think the combination of antioxidants they put in it is really great. Just, it's like genius for the stabilizing of it, for the whole sort of aspect. So I think it's a great.
It has the most research of any antioxidant on the market. So yeah, and somebody just said it's delayed gratification, and that's exactly what vitamin C is.
Jana.
Daily antioxidant is essentially, it's like taking, you know, it's like eating 5 fresh fruit and vegetables a day. You're not instantly going to feel better, but in 10 years' time, your health will be better for it. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, next is my sunscreen. Now I've brought on the Colour Science Flex, and I basically mix a bit of a combination of the medium and the fair skin tone because I'm sort of in between colours. Have you used the Flex?
No, I have not. Tell me more. Tell me more.
So I like Colour Science because I'm a real makeup wearer. And so basically I pretty much wear makeup every day. This is a pure mineral sunscreen and it has got really good UVA protection as well. So it's 4-star, PA 4 stars, and it's got 12% zinc oxide. And it's got quite a sort of foundation-y finish. Yeah. It goes on as a white colour. I'm trying to show you this because it's quite magic.
Bursts, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it goes on as the sort of white colour. Can you see this? Yeah, look. And then it sort of just blends into your own skin tone.
So you're a combination of medium and fair, are you?
Right, which is annoying. But I mean, I can never find. I'm always constantly mixing my foundations. I think it's the freckles or something that I sort of end up being an odd colour, or sometimes like a combination of the fake tan. I don't know what it is, Nadine, but I can't find one shade. I'm in between all the shades.
Are you wearing that in place of foundation?
Not today, but at the weekends I will. That's okay. I mean, that's enough for me.
Somebody just asked, which is such a good question to ask a dermatologist. Is it a myth that mineral sunscreens are better?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's a myth. I think in the US it's different because there are so few. Basically, the whole mineral physical sunscreen thing, I think, is because the FDA in the US have approved a tiny handful of chemical sunscreens. And it's really hard to get full coverage, particularly in that long wave UVA range, and to get really good full coverage with their chemical sunscreen. So in the US, I think that, yeah, you know, their mineral options are really good, particularly for that long wave UVA, because they've banned so many of the sunscreens for no good reason, in my mind. Mm-hmm. I mean, sorry, FDA.
Or they haven't approved them.
Yeah.
The approval process of the FDA is so long that they haven't actually approved them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think if you're in the US, yes, there's a good reason why mineral sunscreens may be better. But in the UK and sort of in Europe, actually, there are some fantastic chemical sunscreens. Case in point, we were at La Roche-Posay event the other day, the UvMUNE, which has got really nice, you know, broad spectrum all the way up to long wave UVA. They're well formulated, they don't always irritate. So I think it's not a total myth, but I think there's something missing. It's like, you know, putting 1 and 1 together and getting 11. There's something specific about the American market, but I think there are a lot of fantastic chemical sunscreens out there.
The only reason I ever recommend mineral sunscreen to somebody is if they have a problem with it wicking into their eyes and it stings. Mineral sunscreens tend not to do that. They tend to be less stingy around the eyes. And dare I say this, the SkinCeuticals, they do a specific mineral SPF for around the eye. It's eye-wateringly expensive, but strangely enough, it will not make your eyes water. But if you are that person and you sweat and your SPF wicks into your eyes, it's a great product, but it's eye-wateringly expensive.
But I agree with you. I think that is a really good reason. Some people do just get on better with mineral sunscreens. I mean, sometimes they are just easier to tolerate. If you said to me blanketly, a person with rosacea, it would be easier maybe just to say, right, use a mineral sunscreen rather than search through all the different sort of chemical ones. But I don't think that it necessarily is that, you know, chemical is better than mineral. Yeah, absolutely not.
If you're not using the Colour Science Flex for the weekend soft focus makeup hybrid look, the most important thing for me with an SPF, and you said this the other day, is one you will feel comfortable using, and which is why I think that some people have different demands. For me, it cannot pill under makeup, and that's the holy grail. Tell me you're going to recommend an SPF that hydrates, that doesn't pill under makeup.
So, I mean, I happily use the Shaka fluid on a day-to-day basis, or the UvMUNE, one of those sorts of things. Exactly, which is so light. And if I'm wearing a full face of makeup, I absolutely don't want things to pill. I don't really tend to wear very thick sunscreens. So someone's just asked about the Abaji range, and I have to say that's always been too thick for me. But, you know, it's a personal thing, right?
When I put, do you remember, you probably didn't see, but when we were together last week, I put a picture up of the UvMUNE and then the dark spot ones from LRP. And I just said, has anybody tried the new one? Because I love the new one.
Yeah.
And it's super runny. I love a super fluid SPF. And it totally divided people. Some people were like, it's too runny, I can't put it in. And the other people were like, the other one's too thick. But the whole point is, that's the difference. You either use, if you've got drier skin, you use a richer one. Personally, I like a light fluid one, really. I personally love the shaker fluids. Yeah. The UvMUNE, I think, is slightly more moisturizing than the old formula. Yeah. And again, if you're on a budget, Garnier do rip off shaker fluids. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. They're not. They're inspired by.
But basically. Yes. No, but it's great. I mean, I love this, that actually now it's so much easier to get hold of things. You know, that's what we want. We want healthy skin, because ultimately this does all go down to that. You know, actually people are protecting, their skin's going to be healthier, it's going to be, you know, access to most people, it's all good.
And is your advice the same as mine, which is, and again, we were talking about niacinamide the other day. My advice, I think, for most people who aren't complete skinaholics is don't think of your SPF as being an additional step. Just get one and replace your moisturizer. That's the secret for me.
Do you know what? There's so much. So there's a lot of debate. I was watching a cosmetic scientist skincare sunscreen conference a few months ago, and a lot of the cosmetic scientists were like, I can't believe, there was a lot of derm bashing actually. There was like, derms tell people to wear sunscreen every day and it's ridiculous, the UV index in this country is so low, blah, 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 blah. And actually it's partly about like getting into habits, using a sunscreen so that it's just a daily part, because otherwise it's going to get missed, all of this sort of aspects. And you're absolutely right, use your sunscreen as a moisturizer, use your sunscreen as a makeup, you know, that's what I tend to do, rather than thinking, oh, I'll just put that SPF 20 in my makeup and I'll do this sort of thing. Because if you get into the habits, you won't get caught out on that March day, you won't get caught out on whatever else. And I think what they were talking about, it was a really interesting conference, and as a derm I was like, I wanted to get, but it was virtual, so I couldn't
lean through the screen and slap somebody.
But literally about saying, you know what, the other thing is that if you're going to get people that are going to then try and reverse all this change with retinoids and procedures and all of that, still the most effective thing that you can do is prevent all those changes from happening. It was around the sort of, you know, things like the skin cancer story and all of that sort of stuff. It was a tricky one. So,
I mean, I'm with you. I always say to people, and when I look at people applying all their makeup and then their skincare and all that stuff and their SPF, and I always go, Oh my God, like for me, the thought of using an SPF over a moisturizer seems to me very strange unless it's a super lightweight serum gel. So for me, the minute I know I'm going to be out and about and I'm going to be out in the sun and the UV starts coming up, I'm like, the moisturizer just goes, vitamin C, little bit of glycerin serum, straight on with the SPF.
Right. Absolutely. Let's go.
And by the way, for somebody that said, and I'm not going to put words in Dr. Emma's mouth, I really love Clinique City Block. It's a great SPF. It's expensive, but I love it.
Absolutely. No, it's a great. I think the thing is to find the thing that you like. We find this with lots of different things. Everyone has got their own SPF. Find the one that you like. There will be one you like. Don't just blanketly say, you know, actually just nothing, SPF breaks me out, SPF irritates me, I don't like SPF, it leaves a white cast. There are so many products now. Get your SPF right, and there's something around there for you.
And I agree with Dr. Emma, in the same way that the last 5 years high street skincare has just become so good, SPFs are getting better every single year. They get better and better and better. They really do.
Well, we were saying this the other day, weren't we, about the evolution of sunscreen and how, you know, it started off with just a little bit of UVB protection, just stopping the burning, and now it's just evolved and evolved and evolved, and we've understood, you know, so much about which part of the sun's waves actually damage our skin in different ways, and how, you know, I'm freckly, I mentioned it to you before, and I can put, in the old days, you know, I'd put an SPF 50 on it and I'd just, you know, explode with pigmentation. And nowadays, because I know there's more UVA protection, I use a tinted one with a visible light protection. Not that I mind my freckles, because you know what, that's my skin, don't care. But I know that, you know, the more pigmentation I develop, that is a little bit around my skin, desperately trying to produce the melanin, and it's not good for it. That actually, the new sunscreens are just so much better.
Is Clinique City Block mineral? I believe it is.
I think it's a combination, isn't it? It's got a bit of titanium dioxide.
Thank you. I remember when it was originally launched, they did have a mineral one, but it might have changed. And actually, they've just launched an SPF 50, and it's pretty hard to get a really high SPF mineral. So I would imagine at that point they're doing a combination.
They do, you know, that little yellow and white one. That's a pure mineral one.
Yes.
But City Block's got a bit of titanium dioxide, which I always think titanium dioxide gives a lovely like finish as well. I really like it. It
does on skin tone out colour, not so much if you're a black person. But yeah, for me, I think titanium dioxide, because titanium dioxide is the mineral that's used in foundation. It gives a nice soft focus, light reflective effect. But in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to have Julian on. Do you ever follow Julian Scamander?
Yeah,
who basically does the best SPF testing in the world, and I'm going to get him to list his favourite non-cast, easy to wear, pleasant feeling SPFs. And trust me, this man puts an SPF to a test like nobody else. He's going to be on in 2 weeks.
Love that. I'm putting my diary on.
I know.
Actually, the Colour Science, not the Flex, but the Shield, comes in a sort of natural skin, natural tone. And for some of my patients who have like skin of colour, melanin-rich skin, actually it goes on reasonably well. So that's not a bad one, I think. I have quite a few people that have liked that. Okay, where am I, Nadine? I feel like I'm okay. What's next? I've gone a bit out of order, but that's okay. The next one is the Toleriane Ultra Nuit, which is by La Roche-Posay, and I don't always just use this at night. I love this moisturizer. I think it's super versatile. It is very, so it's quite light, but it's actually got shea butter, squalane, it's got glycerin in it, it's got a bit of niacinamide, not a massively high dose, but I really like it, and I think it's really good for tolerance of things. It's light, you can wear it in the day easily as well. I think it's a really nice part of the Toleriane range.
I love the Toleriane day moisturizers. I've never tried that one, but trust me, that's going to be next on my list. I love it.
It's nice. I was talking to Rose Gallagher the other day, and she was telling me as well how much she loved it. Independently of me, she was like, "Have you tried this?" And I'm like, "I love that." I think it's great. I don't know quite why it's night, because I'm happy with it in the day.
Of all the, probably just because it's richer, because it's got a hefty dose of shea butter in it, I would imagine, but I don't know. To me, of all, we were talking a lot about LRP last week, and I love the serums, but to me, the most successful LRP range is the Toleriane range. I love their Dermatologist serum. I love it. For me, with perioral dermatitis, it's along with Curel, it's my go-to calm, soothe, repair.
Me too. I mean, the amount of, I think with Toleriane, you can't really go that wrong. I mean, I know I'm going to have a load of comments going, I hate Toleriane, okay, no, but fair enough. But actually, if you said to me someone with relatively sensitive skin or someone that's going to be suitable for all skin types, I love it. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I think it's one of their, you know, really, really successful ranges. So
standout range from La Roche-Posay, totally agree. And now I need to try Ultra Nuit.
Oh, you must do, because I really like it. And I've actually had quite a lot of love on it. So Jane has just said it's actually not that rich. And that's in some ways why I quite like it, because I do think that it's moisturizing, it's helpful in terms of barrier protecting against retinoids, all of that thing, but it's quite light. And for people, you know, the moisturizer fear out there, particularly for people who break out. I mean, I spend a lot of time counseling people. Don't worry, your moisturizer is going to be okay. It's not going to break you out. In the old days, maybe it did and we dried out acne skin, but we don't need to anymore. So actually, it's a really nice one for people that don't like that feel, but need a little bit of hydration because they're a bit sensitive.
Yeah. No, it's on my list. I can't wait to try
that. Okay, so next is, let's have a look. Okay, I'm going to go for, I've got a retinoid, and I've just gone for the Smart Clinical Repair Wrinkle Correcting Serum for a number of reasons. Now, I did work for Clinique. I'm actually not under their contract at the moment, and I don't have to say anything, so this is very independent. But what is great about this, I think it's a fantastic entry-level retinoid for pretty much people who always thought, like, I'm too scared to use a retinoid, because of a number of reasons. So one is that it's one of the new generation of retinoids, which I really like. So the Gran Active or the hydroxypinacolone retinoate. And I was so excited when Clinique brought this out, because Clinique is a wonderful brand based in a lot of heritage. But I think because of the heritage, sometimes it's harder for them to, you know, take on the new molecules, so like the Ordinary, the Inky List and Face Area and all the sort of exciting stuff. And actually, when they brought out the HPR, I was like, oh, it's crying out for it, right? It's a sensitive skin group of people. It's also got niacinamide in it. I tend to use this because I will often use a prescription grade retinoid on my face. But I tell you where I like using it is neck and décolletage. I mean, number one, necks. I think, you know, I mean, I spend a lot of time worrying about my neck. I don't really, but, you know, I do spend time thinking.
You will do in 10 years' time, Emma.
I do already, but I just, yeah. But basically, I think actually it's a great one for this area. I can't tolerate prescription retinoids. I struggle with like retinol and things like that on there. Great for décolletage. I really like it.
I use a retinol from here to here.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, some people can tolerate it.
I've got much more pigmented Eastern European skin than you. I'm not Celt. You're a Celt, aren't you?
I'm a proper Celt. Exactly. And as I get older, my skin gets a bit more sensitive. And then, you know, you're wearing a jumper and you're like, ew, get that retinoid dermatitis off my neck, and I can't cope with it. So I just, you know, really, really, really slowly. This is not going to be the destination retinoid for everyone, but for anybody that is, you know, struggling to think about starting a retinoid, or, you know, has got really sensitive skin, actually, I think it's a really nice one. And I think HPR and the new generation retinoids are exciting, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And again, I think it's nicer for an entry point and for a younger person who is worried about starting retinol. You're not going to have any reaction to it. I remember going through that and just going right to the bottom and thinking, oh, zero side effects. I just love it. It's just a really nice one. It's also really nicely balanced out with other ingredients as well.
Agreed. Including niacinamide. I think it's also, so I think it's for any age. In fact, I think it does very well in the older, like even in like postmenopausal. I have so many women coming in who are, you know, just frankly a bit miserable. Their skin's sensitive. They want to use anti-aging products, but actually it is just harder. They can't tolerate anything. They're reacting all the time, you know. So it's no, it's. I think it's a really nice one. But like I said, it may not be everyone's destination.
Okay, that's a really good question, Jo. Would it be okay for a teen? And are you a fan of teens using retinoids, or do you think there are better things to use in terms of tackling acne?
I think that HPR at that level is going to be quite light to tackle acne. I think you're probably going to need something like Triacneal, one of the stronger retinaldehyde-based brands. So, I mean, I use retinoids in all age groups, and, you know, actually, there's a lot of concern, I think, particularly if you haven't had that much experience with younger people or teens or whatever. I've had a huge amount of experience with that, and actually, you know, you can use retinoids at any age that you need to use them. But, you know, to be honest, do I think this is going to be the one for acne? No. You know, if you've, yeah.
Is it okay on rosacea skin? Somebody just asked.
Yes, that I'm happy with.
Okay.
I think it's, you know, a really nicely sort of balanced one, and you can build it up quite slowly, and there's a lot more room to maneuver with it compared to some of the other ones. But acne, I probably wouldn't use it with.
I have a sneaking suspicion, you and I were chatting about this the other day, I have a sneaking suspicion that Clinique are discontinuing their Fresh Press Retinol and their Fresh Press Vitamin C. And the only reason I can think they would do that, because they were both beautifully formulated, is because people had compliance issues with them. It's the only reason I can see.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is the average consumer, especially somebody who's a Clinique consumer, will just go, oh, it's brilliant. It must be good for me. I'll just use more and more and more of it. And I just think dipping their toe into those high levels of actives maybe hasn't worked for them, which is why they've stepped back and created the Smart Serum with the HCP in it.
Yeah.
Personally, I love both the Fresh Press, but you know, I've got fairly tough skin and I am completely used to high strength vitamin C and retinol. So
I thought their vitamin C that was actually a really good option for slightly more sensitive skin. I mean, ultimately, if you've got really sensitive skin, you know, there are other antioxidants that you can use apart from vitamin C. But their 10% was nice and low. It was well formulated. I thought it was
really
quite
nice formulated.
So
I mean, I might be wrong, but I'm getting the impression that they're pulling back from both of those.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm not even sure how many I'm on, but I'm going to go on to a bit of body. And the body are all sort of on a theme. So the first one is the Heliocare Invisible Spray, which I love. And the whole family uses over...
By far and away my favourite spray on SPF. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, so there are lots of reasons why I love it. Number one, I think, so I have done some work with Heliocare before, just so, but I don't have to say any of this, and I genuinely use it all over my family, is that I think Heliocare has been a really great, visionary sun care brand about the breadth of protection. So really looking into the whole antioxidant aspects and all of those sorts of things. And I think it's, from that aspect, a great one for all different skin types. And, you know, I think that we talk a lot about SPF, but actually, particularly for skin of colour and melanin-rich skin, SPF is obviously important, but actually there's so much more that, you know, we need. Caucasian skin does as well, but actually, you know, stopping me burning is a huge thing about SPF, but actually for skin of colour, there are lots of other reasons why you want to use it and lots of other reasons why it needs to be well formulated. And so that's what I really like, you know, it's got really good broad spectrum protection. It's clear for kids. Oh my God. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of grumbling that my children do. And I think it's particularly because I'm a dermatologist. My son calls tanning the T word. If they want to really annoy me, they'll be like, I just want to go and get rid of tans. So look, Mum, look at my really bad tan. I reckon that's going to be the big rebellion in my, you know, thing. Never mind the drugs, the pregnancy, the this, the that. It's going to be the tanning, right? So then they're like, I'm not putting that on and that. I mean, non-stop. Whereas this, they love. So I'm pleased with that.
And which SPF is that one?
50 plus. So this is an interesting one, isn't it? The whole SPF 50 plus. In the UK, we don't tend to go so much for the whole 100s and this like that. But I mean, I think there are times where actually SPF 50 plus and SPF 100s and things are relevant, actually.
I tell you what I find interesting is, and personally, I love a spray-on body SPF. I love it because if you're on your own and you can't reach your back and it's got a 360 nozzle and all that, we tend to under-apply SPF sprays. So therefore, I get why SPF 50 plus and SPF 100 makes sense. That's no excuse to under-apply it, but we are going to under-apply it, so you really want to go for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think if you look at people, you know, for the average person that's got a reasonable, you know, sort of, I don't know, skin type 2 plus 3, whatever else, you know, maybe it doesn't make that much difference. For somebody that's sort of my skin tone, so fair, somebody who's previously had skin cancers, you know, there are a lot of products out there now which are for basically for actinic keratosis, you know, those sort of flaky red patches that people get with sun damage, that, you know, Eucerin does one, Heliocare does one, and they're almost classified as medical devices because actually they have some prevention against sort of skin cancers. So I think that I think there is a sort of place, there's a whole debate, isn't there, you know, do we have to bother with SPF 30, do we, you know, not anything above SPF 30, but you're absolutely right. We apply, what, half the amount that we're supposed to? So we're getting SPF 15 if we use
15.
that.
So
right.
if you're applying an SPF 50 plus, the chances are you're going to get an SPF 30. I mean, agree. And I agree. I think Eucerin do an amazing spray on SPF. They really get that technology. And so do Neutrogena, but we can't get it here, but you can get it in the States and it's brilliant.
Yes, I know. I mean, there's a lot of them.
Sister brands.
Yeah. How frustrating is that? Sometimes you look at, like, particularly, I tell you where I've really noticed it is children's mineral sunscreens is a nightmare to get hold of in the UK. And, you know, people are worried about putting chemical sunscreens on their kids, and in very little kids, there are reasons why you wouldn't. I mean, generally keep little kids out of the sun. But in the UK, there's a very, very poor offering. And so I'm always looking and seeing those nice sprays in the US. So I think that's...
And I agree with you. And I remember at one time, Boots had a Soleil purely mineral range. I mean, it was pretty thick and unsophisticated and gunky, but it was what I most often recommended people to use on really young children. I mean, the fact that you've got to keep a toddler still and rub all that thick white grease in, but once it was on, it was brilliant. It was perfectly, you know, it was pretty much sand and sea resistant, and it was just perfect for young, sensitive baby toddlers type skin. They should be in a little zip up suit anyway. But,
do you know what? I was just about to say exactly the same. It was so easy sun protecting them when they were 2, 3, 4, because I just shoved them in a suit. Now they're like, I want a bikini, I want to show my stomach, I want this, I want...
How old are your children?
10 and 12.
Oh, we'll just wait till they go through puberty. All my friends with their children.
But, I mean, I'm on the beach. You'll spot me a mile off. My friends, when we go on holiday, they always laugh. I'm covered to within an inch of my life. And like my children are there just like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. It's terrible. But anyway.
You're like a beekeeper, do you?
I am. Have you seen those face bikinis that people wear?
Yes. Yeah.
I want one, but no one wants to go on holiday with me wearing one. So
I remember going to the Maldives about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was when a lot of the super rich Chinese people were coming across that they desperately do not want to put their face in the sun. And I remember a girl walking along in a full up zip, you know, the little zip up suits you put children in. She was fully grown, she had one, and then she had this visor on her head, and it came right the way down, and it was sort of a deep purple colour. And I just remember walking past going,
I want that. Honestly.
I tell you what, she'll be laughing at me, I tell you, in 20 years, 30 years time,
15.
when her skin still looks immaculate like that.
I know. Do you know what? I am the source of great interest at the poolside because I'm so covered up and spend so much time trying to cover myself up because I love a sunny holiday. But one of my best holidays was when I went to Turkey, and you know, a lot of women were choosing to cover up and wearing full sort of swimming hijabs and things, and I just felt so at home. I was like, these are my people. It was brilliant. So it is for people who are fair skinned or people who pigment during the summer or people who get sun rashes. The summer is quite a challenge. You know, you're not just going off on your package holiday and lying by the pool.
People were talking about polymorphic light eruption earlier on. If you've ever suffered from it, oh my goodness.
Honestly, it ruins holidays, absolutely ruins holidays. The good thing about polymorphic light eruption though is that it's treatable. So, you know, actually there are lots of things that we can try and do to try and help that. And that's one to go to your doctor about, because actually, you know, a couple of steroid tablets before you go, or a little bit of light therapy or UVA or whatever.
Okay, so I often recommend, and I might be wrong for this, so please feel free to correct me, dermatologist. I always say, if you get it, my advice is unfragranced mineral sunscreen and an antihistamine tablet, because it worked for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is an allergy to UVA, right?
Yeah.
So your mineral sunscreen has got really nice, you know, UVA protection, zinc oxide, the nanoparticles, as has, you know, Anthelios. That was what it was all sort of designed for. So good UVA protection in your sunscreen.
There's something about a mineral sunscreen as well. Generally, they tend not to be so runny. So you tend to put a lot more on, and they're harder to apply. Yeah. So they're particularly good for here, anywhere that you really want to keep the sun out 100%. You know? Yeah,
absolutely.
Right. What have you up to now?
Okay, so the next thing, which goes sort of hand in hand with this, is my fake tan. Because basically, because I don't tan, I use a lot of fake tan, and I think.
Are you good at fake tanning? I'm rubbish at it.
Well, I mean, I'm not great, but I'd rather be patchy and a bit orange than sort of green. And that's my choice, you know? I'm proud of that choice and I embrace that choice. Yeah, do you know what? I wish my daughter asks me, why do you put fake tan on? Why can't you just embrace your skin tone? And do you know what? It's a really, really good question. But I'm 44. I can't be bothered now. I like a bit of fake tan. It's not harmful. Done, you know?
And also, I tell you my argument as well is I tend to do my arms, my face, and my lower legs. Nobody else is going to see the rest of it. It's fine. I'll look like a licorice also. I haven't got a problem with that. They're the easiest things to do. I can't imagine doing my back. And I'm fairly flexible.
I do my back. I have, yeah, I mean, the
You don't
legs.
rope your husband in or the teenagers.
I don't have a husband, but in terms of the teen, as if the teenagers, they'd be like, "You're so creepy, go away, you're so gross."
I tell you what, though, a bit of money, it'll be fine.
I know. But they're on that age. I got too close to my daughter doing her homework the other day, and she's like, really creepy. I was like, oh God, creepy. No one's ever told me I'm creepy. So they would just be like,
when they're 21, they'll come out the other side. They'll appreciate everything you've done for them and they'll worship the ground you walked on. I was exactly the same.
I mean, so I actually don't mind a bit of, you know, the back action, but it's the legs. I do find the legs hard. So I tend to.
I find the legs easy. Tell me what your favourite self-tan is.
So at the moment, I'm using Tanologist Express Tan. So I have quite specific needs in my fake tan. Okay, one is that I generally am too lazy to do the whole like stay at home, or like I'm not home enough. I don't know what it is. But you know, when it's the colour that has to actually come out. So I need one that sort of develops. I need one that's quite quick, and I like a mousse because I find it really easy to sink in. So those are my sort of things, and I don't like them too smelly and things.
Do you use a mitt? What do you apply it with?
A mitt.
Mitt, okay.
Yeah, a mitt. And so that's quite a nice one. I can have a shower, put a bit on, let it dry for a bit, and then I get dressed. So I quite like that.
Okay, my advice to you would be try a tanning brush.
Oh,
it's a game changer.
Is that the Amanda Harrington one? Or?
So Amanda Harrington does them, but I know for a fact that Tanologist is made by the same company that make Isle of Paradise, who make Tanlux, and they have just introduced one. I know it sounds weird.
No, I like it.
It's a game changer.
I love
you
it.
Put the mousse on your brush and it's almost like have you ever seen somebody do wallpapering back in the day? Those brushes, that stroke back and forth. I did a live with Amanda Harrington. She did her face and then she came back and she said, come on, do your body. And I was like, oh, I'm rubbish at this. And I did one arm. It was streakless and I am useless. It's so clever. It's such a brilliant idea.
I love this.
It is a game changer. And if you love Tanologist, then you'll love Tanlux, you'll love Isle of Paradise. It's all the same company. They just have different fragrances and different bottles and stuff like that. They have a brush. They have a brush in the range.
Love that. That's such good advice. I love that. That's what I'm going to order straight away as soon as I come off the live.
There you go. The Isle of Paradise tan brush is about £6 in Space NK. If you can afford it, the Amanda Harrington stuff is amazing. She has body brushes and face brushes.
Yeah, but her stuff is tinted, like it's got a base colour, right?
It depends, yeah. But it's got base colour. I mean, I would have thought you quite like an immediate base colour because it goes on like makeup.
Yeah, but then it goes all over your clothes.
No, not when they dry now. They're super light. No, they've got quite a hit of They've got quite a hit of alcohol in them.
I also have a really bad reputation for sheets. The Turin shroud is what my sister used to call my sheets.
I was going to say, literally, let's be honest here, once you've applied it and it's in your skin, if you sweat overnight, which you will do if you're my age, probably not if you're your age, you will end up with the Turin shroud.
It's dreadful. It's also really embarrassing trying to explain that to like a new partner. So sorry about this.
And also, I mean, I don't care what anybody says because they all put different fragrance notes in them and Saint-Tropez have worked really hard, but they still smell like digestive biscuits.
But that's the amazing thing, you know, that's how they were developed. So they were using it for, you know, somebody with like diabetes or something like that alongside that sugar reaction. It's an incredible story, right?
Yeah.
I love those serendipity.
Essentially, it's a form of sugar that oxidizes on the skin. It's a byproduct. Somebody said to me the other day, is it worth spending a lot of money? And I went, no, it's the byproduct of the baking industry. It's like, it's a It's basically like a food sugar substitute. Yeah, it's really clever. Completely safe. Never worry about it.
That's the thing, right? People always ask me, is it safe? And I'm like, absolutely. And it's so much safer than going on a sunbed. Melanotan too, which is all over the social media, right?
That bloody nose spray, madness. Can I just say, there was a little time a few years ago when some of the male PRs in the industry were using it, and I was like, oh, it's so dangerous.
Literally, your moles go all over the place. I mean, that's...
Well, everything gets darker. If you've ever seen anybody use it, it's not just your skin that gets darker, your moles get darker. And what's happening in your body to make that mole get darker? And how close are we between that and that mole becoming cancerous? I mean, it's so scary. I
mean, it really is. I'm prepared to, you know, sacrifice all of my sheets and some of my white clothes to do this. But I am not prepared to get melanoma to look a bit darker, all right? And if I'm not prepared to do that, nobody else should be. Like, it's nutty. And then also some injections. People are like sharing needles. Like, just no, guys.
No.
Anyway,
100%, I'm with you. It's the scariest beauty trend out there at the moment, and TikTok have got a lot, trust me.
Yeah, but do you know what? Half the world are doing crazy things to try and make themselves darker. Half the world are like injecting glutathione in themselves to try and make them lighter. And as much as like my daughter's words are like, yeah, I'm going to use a bit of fake tan, but you just have to accept what the good Lord gave you, you know, and not try and sort of kill yourself doing it. Anything.
I mean, but there's a perfect case in point of how it's about buying into an ideal of what perfect skin is supposed to be like. Right. We envy people who are naturally tanned, who have darker skin. Certain cultures envy people who are white because it supposedly means you don't have to go and work outside, and the whole Coco Chanel thing, and when tans became unfashionable. It's all a mess. It is all a mess. And really, ultimately, we should accept our skin no matter what skin color we've got. And funnily enough, I have a niece who I'm going to see later this week. She's 32 and 33, and she's pregnant. She's expecting her baby. And when she was younger, she was obsessed with going brown. And she got to about 15 or 16. She's super pale. She's got beautiful blue eyes, lovely, thick, long blonde hair. When she got to about 16, she just said one day, this is awful. I hate this. I'm not going to bother. And now she completely accepts her skin. And her skin is going to age so beautifully because of it, because she will not have done that thing that I did all through your teens and 20s, where you're fighting to get your skin to melanate when it's not supposed to.
Oh, that is honestly, and I think almost, so I'm skin type 1, just don't tan, and I very...
Oh, so is my niece.
At the age of about 13, it's never going to happen. It's those people that go, it's fine, I burn, but then I tan. I'm like, no, just do not try and push your skin. If you naturally produce a bit of melanin, you know, whatever, but absolutely not.
Do you know what it used to be called when I was growing up? Base tan. Oh, you see the base tan. You just need to get through the pain barrier and you'll be fine.
It was acceptable in the 80s.
Trust me, people. Don't do it, people. Don't do it.
You look gorgeous. We can't, you know, you look gorgeous. But I mean, absolutely, that base tan, just no. Just let your skin be. Don't let it burn, anything like that. Okay, I've got 2 more, I think, products. One is the Neostrata Problem Dry Skin Cream. And that is something that I use on heels, knees and elbows. And this has got 20% AHA in it. And it's really good. And it also goes alongside, I tell you, everything else is to go alongside the fake tan. So actually when that can accumulate there, I think the build-up of, this is gross, and everyone's going to zone out in terms of feet because everyone thinks feet are a bit icky. But, you know, that build-up that people get, you know, the keratin on our heels and our skin is so, on the sole of our feet is so thick, and it really tends to build up. And I think urea-based and AHA-based creams are really useful to try and help with that.
The best. Do you know what AHAs is? It's a combination of AHAs, is it?
It's a combination. So it's glycolic and it's some PHAs as well. But it's a really nice one. It's nice and thick. It's not fragranced. It's really good. My elbows tend to get a bit dry and then sometimes a bit sore and whatever else. So that's a really nice one.
Neostrata do some of my all-time favourite body products.
Yeah,
I absolutely love that product range.
Yeah, love that. And actually, this is a bit of a variation on a theme as well, but this is another thing that I sometimes use. So this is the number 7 Serum Activating Pads, 10% glycolic acid. Now, I don't use, I know I've come up with a few acids, but I actually don't use acids all that regularly. No, but, okay. So I had this problem with my fake tan about 2 years ago, when I started to get all these tiny little bumps on either side of my chest. I'm showing everyone my chest, look everyone, but you can't see it. But basically, I think by its very nature, fake tan is actually quite pore blocking because it attracts into keratin. It will attract into the pores. And most of us, you know, when you put it on and often you just get those little dots in your pores. So often what I tend to use before I put it on, and so I don't use these pads that often on my face. I'm looking really dull before I go out on the night and I'm like, ah. But I can't really be bothered to use too much in the way of that on a daily basis because AHAs don't go that deep down. It's not really going to impact on my skin sort of longer term. But I do tend to use it around my chest before I put my fake tan on.
Can I just say, it's very interesting you're talking about acids because you and I were both having a chat that we think the backlash against acids is coming, and certainly that daily use of an acid as well. And I totally get, I have friends, Sally Hughes, who I admire incredibly. I think she's incredibly discerning and smart, loves a daily acid. She's got quite dry skin. She's prone to clinically dry body skin and she loves the glow and everything. I think, personally, I go one step further than you. So I cleanse with a cloth twice a day. So I'm already exfoliating. And then I think once you've got your retinols in action, and again, you're a prescription, I presume you're using Tret because you're a derm. I don't, I use retinol, either 1% retinol or retinaldehydes. Once you've got that going,
right,
I feel like my skin's already turning over quite quickly. I might at most use an acid once a week.
Absolutely. I think that's the beauty of acids though. You can use them to sort of get that immediate glow. And I think that's why people do quite like them because they do give you that sort of, I mean, literally they are there to take off that bit of excess dead keratin. And there shouldn't be that much excess dead keratin because you're using your retinoid and you're training your skins from underneath, right?
Yeah.
But there are the odd times where you look in the mirror and think, oh, I look a bit dull today. And so actually before you go out or whatever else, it's quite a nice thing. But I agree, more than once a week, why would you do that?
I agree. And I have to say the one place I use acids more often is on my body. So I will readily use like CeraVe, the SA body lotion on my lower legs from my, just mid-thighs down around my feet 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Elbows, arms, anything like that. But then I'm not using retinol on this part of my body, so it makes sense.
Yeah, well, exactly. And it's hard to use retinol on the body. I mean, you're going to bankrupt yourself if you're going to like use it everywhere. I mean, about this sort of age is about where you can go. But I mean, you know, was chatting to you and I were both saying as well last week that we think that the new frontier for great skincare lies from on the body. It's going to be body care without a doubt. And we've got some really good acid options that not so much available on the high street, but they're coming. Yeah. But I mean, I would absolutely love somebody to do a 1% retinol body cream. But somebody told me it's a compliance thing because you absorb so much more. Paula's Choice do, is it not?
I think it's a 0.2.
Yeah. I've never.
And it's the one I always recommend. But I would quite happily use a 1% retinol and take the risk on absorption and exposing my skin to that much. To me, it makes complete sense. I mean, and also not at your age, but by the time you get older, you know, when the menopause hits, you will notice you'll get little bits of crepey skin here and here. Your knees will start to wrinkle. I'm like, bring on the retinol.
Bring on the retinoid. I know. I mean, there are definitely some areas there. But
can I ask what percentage Tret you use?
0.025.
Okay. Oh, so you're still fairly low then?
Do you know what? I am obsessed with low-dose retinoids. I think the other thing that people push things, I sometimes have people coming into clinic and I'm like, whoa, what strength are you using? Ease that right back. Like more is not necessarily more. It's like, I always say to people, there's no point wearing a size 14 if you're a size 8 or something. You know, it's about what suits your skin.
And can I just say, do you use it most nights, every night? What moisturizer do you team with it? Because people will want to know. Okay,
so I will often put, it depends time of year. So in the winter, I'll go Cicalfate, which I almost bought as well today. And then I was like, it's heavy. I mean, do you use it much?
No, but I know the product really well. But yeah, I'm not very good with thick creams.
Okay, so I went skiing a couple of weeks ago and I used my Tret right up to it. And then basically I was just scaling. My sister was like, what is this? What is this? You're supposed to be, don't tell anyone you're a dermatologist, because what is this? And basically, Cicalfate for a couple of days just sorts everything out. Do you know what's so nice about it? It doesn't sting. It's got quite a lot of zinc oxide in it. It's like a barrier cream. It's brilliant for kids when their face is stinging. You know, you'll know if a kid's face gets irritated, you try and put a cream on it, even if it's thick, like, you know, Cetran or CeraVe cream, they'll be like, oh, it stings,
They sting.
Right.
Yeah.
So
what is it that makes it sting? You're right. I know a lot of people that can't use CeraVe when their skin's sensitized.
Sometimes in creams, it's the preservatives that make it sting, which is why ointments, which don't tend to contain so much of those, tend to be much better. But the UvMUNE Cicalfate, for one when everything's just a bit much, is a really, really nice one. I take it everywhere with me. So apart from today, but I mean, I generally on holiday and things like that, it's a really nice one. So in the winter, what I often do is I'll put a layer of Toleriane Ultra Nuit, then I'll put my Retinoid, then I'll put Cicalfate on top. If I'm feeling sensitive, I'll turn it around and I'll put Cicalfate underneath. I am super careful. I do not want any irritation of my skin. It makes me feel a bit upset.
That makes me feel better, you know, because I always got on with 0.025 Tret, maybe 3 or 4 times a week, which is, you know, I got on with it absolutely fine. But I was being pushed to go stronger and stronger. You've made me feel much better about it now. I'm going to step back and maybe try it again.
And I think if you look at the studies, I mean, it's a huge class effect, you know, in that, I mean, 0.025 I think works really, really well. And I see people in clinic when I do try and push people up a bit, because actually if you're tolerating it with ease and you don't even notice you're using it, of course, try the next strength, and of course, but I think you get a lot of the big chunk of the work is done if you're using something like 0.025 regularly. So I'm very happy with low dose retinoids. And we were saying the other day how much perioral dermatitis I see with excess retinoid use, how much, you know, irritation. It's not worth it.
No, I agree completely. Also, it's not somewhere I would ever put my retinol anywhere around here, I have to say.
Absolutely not.
For me, once you've had perioral dermatitis, that area will always be sensitized. You were absolutely brilliant, and I knew you would be.
Oh.
Everybody, I presume you're already following her, but if not, you need to follow her. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
And I've
having
actually got,
me.
because we saw each other last week, I've actually got a decent holding shot, so I don't have to create one of us, 2 of us together.
So good.
Now, you know that Dr. Emma cannot actually give medical advice. Obviously, it's against her medical ethics and her training, obviously, but she still has the most brilliant feed. It's just full of really interesting, punchy, fact-based skincare advice. It's brilliant. And yes, she does, you're right, have the most beautiful hair as well. We could come back and do 10 out of 10 makeup and hair. Maybe we should do it, actually.
Maybe we should. That's very kind.
You do have the hair of dreams. There, somebody was saying it earlier on. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.